Hi, I'm Sudarshini from Sri Lanka. Sorry, I got a bit late.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, I would like to welcome all of you in behalf of Friedrich Naumann Foundation for our webinar, Empowering Voices, Exploring the Political Landscape of Women in South Asia. Many thanks also to our colleagues from FNF South Asia for organizing this webinar. Fostering a strong and inclusive democracy is one of the key objectives of the work of Friedrich Naumann Foundation in Germany and also in our project offices abroad. Strengthen the role of women in politics is a cornerstone in our agenda towards an inclusive society. In our domestic work, for example, we train outstanding female politicians within our empowerment program to provide them with the tools and a network to achieve their political goals. A showcase of the work FNF is doing abroad might be this webinar, as it highlights the network of high-ranking female politicians in South Asia and opens their experience and knowledge to a shared audience from Germany and South Asia. I hope that their insights can inspire more women to voice out their ideas and demand a share in the political discussions in their communities. Given the importance of today's topic, our CEO, Annette Witte, provided a video statement.
I can't hear the video.
Very important thing to empower other women, to empower female leadership in society, in the political landscape. I know that sometimes it's very hard for women to find their way in political leadership. And we as a foundation, as the Liberal Friedrich Naumann Foundation, will do our best to give you more opportunities in political leadership and female political leadership for female success in your society. So I would say take a lot of important things from the webinar with you. I wish you good luck. A lot of fun. To do politics is fun. And I wish you a great time here in our webinar.
Besides Mrs. Witte, we also were able to get short remarks from Renate Alt, who is a member of the German Bundestag and voiced out her opinions about the female perspective in politics as well.
Ladies and gentlemen, as a chairwoman of the Committee on Human Rights and Humanitarian Aid of the German Parliament, I am delighted to welcome you all to this webinar by the Friedrich Naumann Foundation for Freedom. Today we meet online with a shared commitment to shed light on the challenges and opportunities faced by women in the political sphere across Pakistan, Nepal and it is essential to recognize and support their concerns, challenges, and achievements. Women are not only important actors, but also key players in the quest for equality, peace, and development. In many parts of South Asia, however, women continue to face significant obstacles that limit their political participation. Although progress has been made, women are still underrepresented in political decision-making processes and often face discrimination. It is therefore imperative that we work together to strengthen women's voices and rights and ensure that they can play an equal role in the political arena. Empowering women's voices is not an end in itself, but benefits society as a whole. Studies show that the higher participation of women in political processes has a positive impact on the development and stability of a country. I encourage you all to actively engage in today's discussions, share your insights, and contribute to the collective effort to advance women's rights and gender equality in South Asia. Your contributions are invaluable, and together we can make a difference. I thank you all for your participation and wish you a productive and insightful webinar.
At this point, I would also like to welcome our valued panelists and of course our moderator, Divya Jain. Ms. Jain works as a political consultant for over a decade now and is, as we can proudly say, an alumna of Friedrich Naumann Foundation. Ms. Jain, welcome, and the stage is yours.
Thank you, Annie. Thank you, everybody, for the great insights. Welcome, everyone. We are very happy to have you here, and thanks to FNF South Asia for hosting this. I would like to welcome all our esteemed panelists and request them to maybe come on video if possible. Meanwhile, I'll just go ahead and introduce our panelists. We have Sania Kamranji from Pakistan. She's been a member of Provincial Assembly and she has been working on gender equality issues, women issues for quite long. Welcome, Sania ji. We have Anusha Nepal from Nepal, and she proudly carries Nepal in her surname. She's been the communication head for the MP office of Gagan Thapaji. And it's very rarely that we see women in head positions, especially in digital marketing communications. So she's bearing the flag there. We would hear more of her journey from Anusha herself. Welcome, Anusha.
Namaste. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Namaste. Then we have Sudarshini ji. Sudarshini ji has been the MP from Sri Lanka, and she has been working on healthcare issues. She is the lead on COVID-19 relief, and she has been instrumental in bringing out bills for women reservation, for championing the participation of women in Sri Lanka, and we would hear more from her. I would not go ahead and introduce more on their profiles because it's very heavy profiles that we have, and it would be I won't be doing justification to them. So we'll start with you, Sudarshini ji. If you can please tell us more about your journey and any stories, any challenges you would like to share with us.
Yes, may I start?
Yes, please. We would like to hear more on your journey, how you started in politics, and any interesting stories or challenges you would like to share with the audience.
Thank you very much. And at the outset, let me thank FNF for inviting me to be a panelist at this important workshop, share women's empowerment, including political empowerment. Just to in the Sri Lankan context, we elected the first woman to the State Council in 1931. We elected the world's first woman prime minister, but unfortunately 90 years later, the majority of the women in the Sri Lankan party have come in with some sort of family background. So I got into politics, leaving aside my medical practice to continue after my husband was assassinated by the terrorists in Sri Lanka. That was in 2008, he was assassinated. And in 2009, I left my medical practice of 4 years and contested in 2010. And this is my third term in parliament. My first election was just like a walkover because I just, it was soon after my husband's assassination and it was a sympathetic vote. I was voted in easily, but the second and third times were challenging because we have a proportional representatives electoral system where we had to run an entire district, compete with, and the competition more between the candidates of your own party. It is highly competitive, and being a woman, it is even more challenging. But I managed to contest, and this is my third term in Parliament. And since 2010, we have been the women in Parliament have been working together across parties to strengthen empowerment. And at right now, the representation in national parliament is only 5.3%, which has not increased beyond that. At state level, it was 4%, and at the local government level, it was even less than 2%. But the civil societies, the grassroots level women's organizations, together with the women's caucus, which comprises of parliamentarians from different parties, we were able to advocate for a quota. And in 2017, the government, the present president as prime minister, introduced 25% quota to the local government level, which was the first achievement towards empowering women, especially increasing women at level. And right now, all these local government authorities yet awaiting an election, but we had 23% representation of women at local government level. And then the new act level introduces a 25% quota at the provincial level, and now we are working hard towards increasing representation at national level. So we recently we went for the presidential commission proposing electoral reforms, and justified how we should increase representation at parliament level, and we are working hard towards it. So the journey in politics for a woman is quite challenging, you know, because our campaigns need a lot of money, because we run entire districts, we have to compete within our parties, and also we live in a patriarchal society where the majority of the party leaders also think that a woman may not be a suitable candidate, and also in most of our major structures have no space in the major spaces. So this also has become challenging for newcomers to enter, like, you know, people, the young girls, the women without any background who want to continue pursue a career in politics. They have a major challenge in entering the field of politics. And we also, as a women's caucus, we lobbied the majority of the general secretaries in the major parties and requested them for voluntary constitutional amendments within the party, whereby which you can increase women's representation. So we are the results, but we want to, as private members, the women parliamentarians caucus wants to bring in new amendments, thereby through which we can increase women's representation in Sri Lanka. Thank you.
Thank you, Sudarshini ji. We are sorry to hear about your husband, and I'm sure it's been a challenging journey after that. But as you represent the strong women, you have taken a lead there, and you have championed women's rights. There have been very insightful points from your conversation, which I will circle back to. Sania ji, now I would like to request you to share your journey with us, and what challenges you faced and your story with our audience. You're on mute, Sania ji.
Hello, can everybody hear me?
Yes, now we can.
Yes. Hello, everybody. This is Sania Kamran representing Pakistan. Yes, first of all, I would like to say thank you very much to the FNF South Asia for this having me here. And there are a few names I won't say now, because if I skip any, it won't be nice. But I got a chance to visit Germany and we visited the Berlin Parliament, and we went through the entire system, and we were able to make an analysis of how the women are represented in Pakistan and South Asia, and what is the difference in Europe, how their women representation is done, and how they are elected and everything. So once again, I would like to say thank you to the FNF for their having us there in delegation, and it was a great time, and we got a good opportunity to learn a lot. As far as I'm concerned, I joined politics 12 years back when I was a student. I just completed my master's, and I was doing my CSS, and I always thought that going to the bureaucracy or doing the CSS would be the bigger platform to bring a good change and represent women in Pakistan. But when I was studying it and when I was doing it, it was like we need a bigger platform, because doing legislation is the only way to make women presentable from top to bottom levels, and see women represent in all areas of the society. So for me, I needed a bigger stage. And one more thing, when we talk about the struggles, I was only 18 when I got married. So I did my A-levels, graduation, masters, and CSS. Everything, all my education after my marriage, with the help of the family and support from the, kids and husband, it was very essential. But not everybody, not every lady in Pakistan is that, lucky to have that. But when I joined politics, yes, there were many factors. It wasn't easy, because in Pakistan, it is very important for every party to have 5% quota for general seats. I mean, they need to have ladies to go and contest proper election, instead of, yes, we do have 35% of reserve seats in our assemblies, in National Assembly, in provincial assemblies also. But unfortunately, I must say, because if I have to be honest here, because we want to go improve, we need to improve. So we have to see what are the challenges women are facing. I mean, all those reserve seats are usually filled by the family legacies. I mean, the ladies from the political family background, men, they nominate their family members usually. So it happens. Yes, it is also true that in Pakistan, we were able to have first Prime Minister Benazir Bhutto as the PM. It was a great achievement for the ladies. But that thing, I think, did not help us to delegate the powers in all sectors of the society. I mean, and now we have a Chief Minister, Mariam Nawaz, also and as Punjab CM. But unfortunately, all these ladies have a family background, a family legacy. A middle class person like me, an educationist, a politician, a person who has done masters in political science, I can also see that there are many challenges. That a lot of legislation is to be done to represent women presence in different ministries also. We hardly have ministers, female ministers. We don't. The biggest challenge we feel is to contest on general seats, which is because a lot of money is required for the campaign, and no one is willing. I mean, not the parties or public is willing to invest or they believe in a women candidate. When they need the sympathy vote, yes, a women face comes in, because they have more empathy, they have more humility, they can connect with the public. And trust me when I say that women are in politics, I mean, women are more better politicians because they can multitask. Because even at home, women are like ministers at home. They are taking care of everything, and the treasury, the kitchen, the education of the kids, and taking the housework. So in the same way, they have a practice of how a government should be run also. But unfortunately, it is very difficult to convince men in the government that women, whatever they are thinking, their way of working is more better or connected with the public. So yes, there is. When I was in MPA, the biggest concern for me was that even being Islamic State, in the Islamic Ideology Council of Pakistan, there was no representation of women. So my first legislation, which I did, which was successfully passed by the President of Pakistan also, Arif Alvisa, was that there should be 2 seats in the Islamic Ideology Council, and I really feel proud of that I was part of it. And then we increased the job quota in Punjab, which was 25% in the beginning, and then we made it to 35%. And increase in the salary also was done. And then we did a lot of work for minority representation as well, like in local body system. We tried to increase from 1 seat to 2 seats for ladies, which was reserved seats, and then for minority also, and the youth seats also. And we made sure that there should not be any discrimination, because when we say youth, only boys, only male boys, matlab, they come in that category. But we made sure that youth should be represented by male and female also. So it was, yes. And then later on, we were also successful to celebrate Safe Place Day on Women's Day 2 years back, which was to sensitize men to understand the problem a woman faces in the parliament and in the assembly also, because there was an incident in KPK assembly where a woman brings a child because he wasn't well, and there was a lot of bragging, and there was a lot of saying by the men that a woman should stay at home, but they can't, like, they should be focusing on their job, not the kids. But we see in the European Parliament, there's no discrimination. They have daycare centers and everything, and they facilitate their women parliamentarians and respect them a lot. But I think, and yes, and then we were able to make a daycare center in the Punjab Assembly also. So there are, yes, there are a lot of achievements. There are a lot of good things happening in Pakistan, but still we have a long way to go. And yes, for having everybody here, listening to everybody, and I hope that there'll be a lot I can learn also from all of you. And but we all are in the same ship, so we need to work together and help each other out. And let's see. I would just like to thank again, and all the best to everyone.
Thank you, Sania ji. It's very interesting to know how, the issues are so similar almost everywhere. And like Sudarshani ji mentioned, this is very interesting how people are not willing to invest money in women candidates. So we'll come back to this, of course. This is very interesting, and I'm sure our audience would like to hear more on this. Coming to you, Anusha. So how's it in communications? How did your journey start? And what are your challenges? What's your story that you would like to share?
Thank you. Thank you for the question. So I think it's interesting in a sense. It was 2022 local election when I was first eligible to vote. So we are eligible to vote after 18. I was somewhere around 20, I guess, in 2022 when we were allowed to vote. So that was the first election I could vote on. That was also the first election where I could lead an election campaign. So it was interesting in many ways. The first election I associated to Nepali Congress at. But before that, only I was working at Office of Gagan Thapa. Sadly, we see really less number of women when it comes to politics in the forefront, but also in the background. It's very rare that we can interact with them. But I was fortunate enough, I had good education and I come from media background. So that's what made me fortunate enough to connect to Gagan Thapa. And then people like him who actually foster female leadership. He provided me with a lot of opportunities. I got to interact with a lot of people and I started liking what I did. I thought there had to be more people. There are interesting stories actually. I was doing media and my parents just told one of my neighbors like, hey, my daughter is working in political communication. And they were just like, not possible. How is someone going to take just a random girl and put in a communication field, I don't think that's true. So there are a lot of comments as such, but by far it's going really good. And I'm actually very happy that Nepal is improving. After the 2015 constitution, I think we've seen a lot of changes. When it comes to media, it's a little bit saddening because in the 2017 local election, actually, we could see 40.96% of women were elected out of the total number of people that were elected. In 2022 election, it was 41.22%. Later, I did my thesis on representation of women in media during local elections. And my findings were quite sad. And that's also what motivated me to work harder on this field. When it came to news focus before the candidacy registration, it was ad baz at 0:100. 0% news focus on women candidate when it came to 100% news focus on men candidate in radio news and interviews, And a similar kind of story after candidacy registration, it was 3% to 97% and a lot of mismanaging. There was this comment that was made from a station head that really hit me hard. I asked him, so it looks like your radio does not have this balance of representation in the news that you present. What he told me was, women are not that easy to access in our culture. That's why we could not have enough number of women to reply to our interviews. And I asked similar questions to the candidates that were running back then. They said we've never been approached. So there's this kind of gaps that I see that actually motivate me to continue work on this field, and it's been an interesting journey. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Anusha. I do have a follow-up question with you. So, when I started in politics about 10 years back, I also started with communication, and it was a huge deal from the family, from the people around me, a woman going in politics. More, the issue was more about, it not being safe. But now, as we have our interns and everything, I see more women coming. So, what is your experience there? Do you think it has changed over the years? Is it that the younger generation is now more easily coming or opting for politics?
I think it also depends on the people that we're surrounded with. So if I talk about my group of people, yes, they are very active and they have this more opportunity also because they have had good education and supportive parents and time has changed. But there are times when it's actually tough. Sometimes we'll have to work till late nights, 10, 11, 12 during the elections, and you'll have to face a lot of questions like, why are you doing it? It's not safe. Who are you with? What are you doing? But then there's also this a very supportive side of parents and friends whereby they're like, yeah, you're doing good thing at young age and okay, we'll take care of everything, you could do it. I think it has changed and I'm mostly hopeful because I think I'm surrounded by women who are very active in politics and supported by everyone. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the ideal change we want to see. So it's very great to hear. Sudarshani ji, coming to you, as you mentioned, you have to compete with people from your own party. And how does the competition between men and women for the same elections look? Is it different for women? Is it tougher for women? And how?
It's definitely tougher for women. First, from getting nomination, seeking nomination, it is very tough because, as I mentioned earlier, the majority of the parties are headed by men. It's a male-dominant field, and within the main party structure, there are very few women at the decision-making bodies, and most of the women are confined to the women's wing. And some of these, I don't know, most of them also will support male candidates because, with the expectation that after elections are over, the government is formed, they will be able to get some positions, etc. So their main agenda is not to empower women and to get more women in. And running for first from nomination onwards, women have a great fight. They have to fight within the parties, with males. And some of the parties may not have women on their nomination boards, so the final decision making person would be the party leader. So they think men are better off than women because the proportional representative system needs a lot of finances to run an election. So the leaders think men are better off. And also sometimes associated with violence and, so the women also tend to sort of, lag behind. They also will be pressurized by their families not to, compete because it's tough, it's violent, you need a lot of money, you need a lot of family support because a woman running an election means she has, in addition to her campaigning, she has other work, so it is very tough. So you're only considered capable only after, as I told you, the loss of either your husband, a parent, a sibling, because then the leaders know you have a ready-made voter bank, which could be sort of captured by putting a female candidate forward. But I'm happy to say that some of these candidates, maybe the majority, they have retained. The first time was tough, but it becomes tougher. Each time you contest, it becomes tougher for women. But the women have been able to get re-elected because the people have confidence. So, and also my personal experiences, when I campaign, we don't offer, we don't offer alcohol, we don't give them money, we don't, we don't bribe the voters, but this system is exploited by some, especially those with heavy funders and funding. It is exploited by some, so that as a result the women lag behind. So I think majority of the women will not want to campaign or to provide alcohol or maybe tobacco, or may even consider bribing the voters, like giving them chairs during campaigns, exercise boot distributing. They are having, but because of the restrictions in the finances, women are unable to compete. But women, out in the present parliament, 8 have been elected and 4 have been appointed. So of the 8, 7 are with some sort of family background. So for a woman to contest an election, it is challenging. And also on top of that, the social media, the present day social media is very negative towards politicians per se. But among politicians, women are more targeted than men. The sexist comments are made, the comments about your attire. Since South Asia, we live in a patriarchal society, so you have to be properly dressed. You cannot, if you are seen at night, you may be criticized. And also the disadvantage from women is they can't socialize. Men can socialize late at night with a glass of wine, and but the women find it difficult. And also late hours are very inconvenient for women, considering the other responsibilities she has. So being a woman in politics, it is very challenging, and also you need a lot of family support. Without family support, to survive in the system is difficult, because after all the political work, you also have to engage in other, your responsibilities towards your children. Now, my 2 children were young when I entered politics. They were 16 and 14, so I had to focus on their education, their protection, and also you have to support them. So you need a lot of family support, and luckily I had a lot of family support, and I was able to retain in this system. And also my educational background was it was very positive. The way I was accepted by the male colleagues, the way I was respected. So my qualifications were an added benefit being a woman.
Right, of course. And, I do agree on when you say women cannot socialize, or they cannot stay out late, or you have to think on what to wear. So it's like the basic things that men might not even have in their minds, but we have to think, we have to curate, and we have to think of the outcomes, our attires, what we say, who we socialize with, the outcomes of that. So it's like every minute as a woman politician is a challenge. So Darshini ji, you mentioned one very important point, wherein everything comes eventually to the leaders. They select the candidates. They see who is going forward. So some parties across South Asia, now they are having a reservation within the parties itself, that some women, some percent of women will be there in the top leadership of the parties. Do you see that in Sri Lanka as well?
Unfortunately, no. Recently, we campaigned, as I mentioned earlier, we met the general secretaries of the major parties individually, the women parliamentarians, and requested them for voluntary to take steps to increase women representation. But there was a new alliance which has pledged 50% representation for women. Other than for that party, I haven't seen any major party proposing any voluntary amendments to their party constitution. So we are planning to bring in private members' motions to increase women's representation at district level. And also we have 225 members and 196 are elected, whereas 29 are appointed. So we have suggested, of the 29 appointed to, give 50% to women, so that you can appoint women from different professional backgrounds, so that we can increase representation at least by 40. In addition, we also have suggested an amendment whereby, now we have each voter has to cast 4 votes, 1 for the party and 3 for the candidates of their own choice. So we have proposed, making this compulsory, so that out of the 3 votes, 1 could be used for a woman. So the ballot paper will have 2 columns, 1 for men and the second for women, whereby the voters are requested to cast their votes at least 2, minimum of 2 preferential votes, so that they can cast 1 vote for a male and another for female. We may need parliament amendments to that. So we are yet the presidential commission looking at reforms. They were very positive. So we are also looking at reforming, bringing legal reforms, most probably before the next elections. We are hoping to, but yeah, we're very positive about it. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. To bring about a change at the national level, we of course need to start at the grassroots level, and this is one major takeaway that we have right now. That to select women, we need to have more women representation in the party leadership, and of course, you've been doing instrumental work for that. Sanya ji, coming to you. So I have the same question for you. Do you also see a male-dominated party leadership? Which is selecting candidates, which is selecting maybe more men than women? Or how is it in Pakistan?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, it is very unfortunate that although like in Pakistan, we have the ratio of population is almost 50-50. Sometimes it's 48 to 52 and sometimes it's 50-50. But still we say that it's a male-dominated society and all. I think it's a public's perception and point of view that how will a woman represent the general voter if he has a problem in the jail or he has a problem with the police station. How will she go? How will she represent our case? Same with it goes with the female journalists and the in bureaucracy also. I mean, how will she be one a player in the entire game? Because unfortunately in the South Asia there are 2 things I think every government faces. I mean, whether it's India, it's Sri Lanka, it's Nepal and everything, that when the elections are done, it's usually the party which loses says ki dhandli ho gayi, it's a rigged election and everything, and then you have to go through the entire process, and that claim goes on to entire tenure. And in the same way, when a candidate loses in a constituency, that the losing candidate has to go through a lot of legal process also. So usually it's like how a woman will take up to all that matter. And education plays a lot of part, because if a woman is educated, yes, she knows the law and she can convince people, but not everywhere, because not every female is educated that much or to understand how the legislation is done. She has to go through a process, a very long years to understand what's actually happening. So, but when a woman is successful, yes, then there are many successes. Success has many fathers then. But I think it's we need to change the perception of the public, general public, that if a woman or a man, if they are educated, yes, they can handle the public affairs. One more thing what I say is that women have to put a lot, like men. Yes, I do agree with our what Sudarshini from Sri Lanka said, that men can socialize after the working hours, but women cannot. This is actually very true, because that's where the lobby is done, that's where the deals are done, and that's where men hang out and they think about the projects, because corruption is another bigger issue in our countries in South Asia. I think in every country, I think it happens. And when a woman is there, it's like she's going to tell everybody else what you are planning and what you are going through. So they don't trust a woman person, because they think that women are, and it's a fact that women are more honest and they are there just for the salary, and which is very minimum, I think. I think for any businessman or a feudal lord or any man, the salary given in Pakistan is hardly, I think, 1 lakh or 2 lakh rupees. That's it. And for the ministers, it's like 3 to 4 lakh rupees, which is nothing for a man. They're only there if they want to benefit their primary businesses, and that would be through different means. For a woman, the salary and representation, or a mission, if she has to represent women at all levels, that is a different thing. Women are for different reasons in politics, and men are for different reasons in politics. They're there for information, to know from where the roads are going, they can buy the land, how the projects are coming, how can they benefit from it. But the women, they don't actually, I think it's not built in their mind that they want to benefit from the political, or there is no clash of interest. So I think this is where men are not comfortable hanging out with women or taking them as a team member. So the women are usually left segregated. You can see in any party or any political gathering, there is a section of women sitting separately and the men are sitting separately. And even if we talk about the representation on the stage, or when the campaigns are done, if all the male candidates have a seat on the stage, but there will be only 1 or 2 seats for the women, for the top leadership to represent, just to show that yes, we also give representation to women. But this is not fair. If there are 10 women, there should be 10 seats. So what happens is then that leg pulling comes in, and the women are themselves as enemies to get those like very minimum seats. I mean, so there are 2 different ways how men and women are treated. But I think the only way forward is that we women stick together and we like take it as a team, that we need to build our own representation and we need to fight for our right. And if one woman gets promoted, we should see it as a window. Okay, fine, the window is open now. If one person can get to be a minister or a parliamentary secretary, yes, then there will be another chances also. So we need to make that woman succeed in that time, so we can build up a good representation, like good that women can also do it. So we need a lot of women working together. I think that would be a good solution for our problem.
Of course, right. And, if there are women, they understand those issues, and, the representation matters eventually. Because
But I'm really sorry for being brutally honest in
Yes.
some cases. I'm
No,
sure
of
there are
course.
male members there. I'm not referring to one, but this is a general understanding which I see. And
Yeah.
if we don't talk about it, then the problem won't be able to solve.
No, exactly. And, we see a lot of preconceived notions around women, that you'll not be able to do this, so you better not do it. Or, you might have to return home after this hour. So we do see that as a general trend. And it's not, I feel it's not only the men doing it, but sometimes we women also end up doing the same. We end up underestimating ourselves and, reflecting that on other women as well. Thank you, Sania ji. Anusha, So it's, while, it's all great at your end, and, it's really great to hear that you are working in a very positive space.
And
You have,
Livia, let me add one more thing.
Yes.
Let me add one more thing, please allow me.
Yeah.
That when I joined, I was very young, and the catchphrase used for me usually was like "young and beautiful, more chances to grow," which was very bad and done by the female. I mean, your colleagues said by that, which was very unfortunate, because people think that when you're done with the family responsibilities, only then you should come into politics. But I think when you are at your prime, when you're young, when you're energetic, you're working 24 hours, 365 days a year, and you get a reserve seat, instead of encouraging and appreciating one's success, we call we say these phrases to undermine the success of a woman, which is not fair. And I think the women should stick together so that men don't get encouraged by these things.
Of course, what parameters we are judging women by and what parameters we are judging men by. That's
Right.
a whole discussion that we can do around that, and I feel that's one of the very core issues that we need to address. So thank you, Sanya ji, for being brutally honest. We actually require that for an open conversation. Anusha, come to you. So like Sudarshani ji mentioned, that women have to think a lot about what they are doing, what they're wearing, what they are who they are talking to. So I understand right now in your space that's not so, but how is it in Nepal for women politicians otherwise?
Thank you so much for the question. I think I needed to answer this. So even though I'm at a right space, surrounded by right people, and I don't have to face it, but at Nepal, it's similar to what Sudarshani ji and what Sanya ji just mentioned. It's actually very tough, especially when it comes to socializing, even if it's not in the forefront and in the background. If I need to meet the candidate, talk with them, maybe talk about campaigns, I'll have a very hard time. And when it comes to women outside Kathmandu, it's even tough, because in Kathmandu, you have in the capital, you have some kind of safety. You can travel around, you can ask for help. But when you go outside the valley, it's very hard for women to stay outside home after the working hours. It's very tough for them to even manage the working hours itself. So when women are very much objectified, even in Nepal. Even when news are made about women, it's majorly about someone's daughter, someone's wife. If the news is about women, it's only about their family backgrounds. And like she mentioned, beautiful candidate, well-dressed candidate. When it comes to men, visionary candidate, a fighter candidate, that kind of objectification is very much rampant. Also, when it comes to Nepal, we see a good number of women representing in all three tiers of government. But having said that, women are nominated or represented only if they have to be represented. I'll give you an instance. We have around 41% of women representation in local government. But how are they represented? Actually, the mayors or the chairperson is someone who has more executive authority in the local government. So when it comes to the mayor or chairperson thing, it's 98% men. And now when it comes to vice chairperson or deputy mayor, it's 91% women. So what I'm trying to say is, you will choose women only if you have to choose women. There's one loophole in the entire election act. So if some party are having an election alliance before the election itself, it's not compulsory for the party to have a women candidate. So the moment there's this loophole, the number of candidacy of women candidates is drastically decreasing. So this kind of loopholes and this kind of objectification very much exists in Nepal. And it's very tough actually for women outside the valley to be in the field of politics entirely. Even inside the valley, it's tough because you have to go through a lot of questions like, why are you doing it? Where were you actually with the work? What are you doing? And this kind of objectification is very rampant. We can see the news, we can see the movies, and I think the representation is very, very worse. I think it's similar to what we can hear from Sri Lanka and Pakistan.
Right. So you raised a very important point, which bugs me a lot, in India. Sudarshini ji, I would like to ask you this. So we see a lot of, women reservation in when it comes to candidates or when it comes to committees, ministries, etc. So when it comes to candidates at the grassroots level, like you also are working on this bill to have 5% reservation at local level. But as Anusha says, women are portrayed to the front only when the parties have to. So the trend that we see in India is, let's say, there is a male politician, a brother, husband, or a father who wants to contest elections, but the seat is reserved for a woman. It's the woman contesting, but eventually it's just the woman's name. At the end, it's only the male candidates, who are leading that. So in numbers, it's the women empowerment happening, but in reality, on ground, it's not. So how do you see that in Sri Lanka? Do you think this 5% reservation will actually bring about a change? You're on mute, Sudarshini ji. You are on mute, Sudarshini ji. Sorry, you are on mute.
Sorry about it. Thank you very much for the question. The representation at local government level is 25. It's a 25% quota,
Okay.
and as Anusha ji said, it's true. Although they are, they represent the party leaders have allowed because the law has, there's a law. They were worried at the very beginning. The total number of local government representation was increased by 1/3, and then this 25% quota was brought because otherwise the leaders thought the women will replace the men. So they didn't want to be unfair by the men. So that is how this quota was given. But we are happy that right now we had 23% women. Of course, yes, within the 23%, you get, people who come in to replace their husbands, just namesake figures, but the majority of them are doing well. And I know there are a lot of civil societies who have trained them, trained them and made them ready for the next level. So this is important. At least this is an opening for women to enter politics. Although they are being discriminated, that they are nominated members, sometimes they are not even given time to speak, they are not given funds, and as Anusha ji very correctly said, the chairman, majority of the decision making body is the chairman and the deputy chair, all are held by majority of them are men. But the positive side is at least we have enabled women to enter politics at the local government level, and from there onwards, the people who have the necessary skills, the competencies, can rise up to the next level. So there are pluses plus negatives, and also there was when this 25% quota was brought in, there was a suggestion to introduce some sort of selection criteria. I said yes. It was very good, to introduce educational background, their skills as societal workers, social workers. But I said not only for women, but it has to be for it should be for men as well. So these the selection criteria was never introduced. But we are happy that at least there are 23% women sitting there. Often the majority have been trained. There are, people who are coming to replace their husbands, etc. But majority of them, I think, they are capable, they are competent, and they are confident. So we have been able to at least open the door for women to enter politics.
Right. So the first step is important, and of course, that is the step in the right direction. Sania ji, how do you see that in Pakistan?
Well, yes, it's true that I always believed that a woman should, like, I started as a block organizer. When I started politics, for me, the first task was to get maximum number of membership for the party. So I did 1,000 membership in a week, and then I still have a manual, my own handwriting, sitting outside the college and universities and getting the youth to get the party um, membership, and that is 6,000. I think members I made with the telephone numbers and the addresses and everything, and that is about like I think in 2012. So. It is very important that a woman starts from very grassroots level, so you can actually understand the true mentality of the public, what women are going through, what are their needs, and this is how you step up. Like you become from the local body system, then to the township system, and then you go to the MPA. You represent the province, and then you enter the federation, which is the Parliament of Pakistan, and then it's the Senate. So yes, it is very true. I totally agree that you need to have actual understanding how politics is done and what are the major issues faced by the general public and especially the youth and the female also, because in many areas you need schools. So you have to convince the party to get funding for that school if you're representing that area. But still, yes, it is an issue that all the work has been done by a woman. But when the funding is done, it's given, and the nameplate outside the school or all the credits in the registry is with the name of the man who contested from that area, not the hard work of a woman. So yes, I totally agree. So you need to start your battles small, and then you have to take it upwards. So yes, I totally agree. It's the same situation in Pakistan. I think the women should start from local body system and make their place in the party, and then from the party to the representing in the parliament.
And do you think that is, how is that journey? Is it easier for women? Because in a lot of parties, we see that, women eventually don't make up to the top levels because there are many factors at play there. So how do you see that journey?
Well, it's always up and down. Sometimes you are doing very good. The party situation is very good. The politics is stable in the country. But usually it's politically it's unrest. Politically, South Asian countries are usually facing a different sort of trouble. Like the parties are fighting with each other, and then that fight is just not in the parliament. I just pray and I hope that because parliament and the assemblies are the biggest platform for a debate. Streets are never an answer. I mean, for me, streets are never an answer. I mean, you can go for a protest. Yes, it's your birthright. You can do that. But that should have a limit. I mean, making public suffer for that protest, I don't think so. I think if you're in the assembly, having a good debate, having good people, educated people, trained people who actually know the answers, given the right jobs. Parliament and the assemblies are the best area where you can go and debate and then get things done through legislation. But unfortunately, we take matters in our own hands on the streets, which is not good. I think it's not the way. Um, the parties should be taking every battle in the assemblies. They should not involve public with it. The public should be given a good environment so they can do their jobs and they can do their businesses, and so the economy can flourish, and the normal life should not be disturbed. I mean, the politicians should take their all matters in the assembly.
Right. So thank you, Saniaji. I would like to move on to questions. We have some very interesting questions. So the first one is from Frank Hoffman. He's a regional project manager from FNF South Asia. Thank you, Frank, for being a part of this webinar and sending your question. So I would like to open this question for everybody actually, because it's very interesting. So Frank asked, are you happy or satisfied with the way female politicians are portrayed in movies or TV series in South Asia? And if you would like to name a series or a movie that has done particularly well on this. So open question to all three of our panelists for this one.
Yes. Can I say one name?
Yes.
I think Rajniti was one of the movies. I mean, it just stated all the characters very correctly. This is how actually the things are done. Family dynasties do matter. And I think it's the same here in Pakistan. Yes, I'm getting into trouble very soon. I know whatever I'm saying. But yes, I think that was one movie how women get to the top. I mean, in the end, you see when the husband dies, the women get the sympathy face, and she was selected because the public would have sympathy towards her. I think that is one of the movies. Yes, there are many movies which are showing the exact situation which is happening, and that is only because I think now a lot of female producers and directors and writers we have who can actually relate and who can actually show the female point of view how the women are facing. So it's good to have women in media and in film industry.
Yeah, I surprisingly I haven't seen Rajniti. I've heard a lot about it, but I'm going to watch that for sure.
You must.
So,
You must.
yeah. Anusha, do you have anything to add to this?
Yeah, I think it's very unfortunate that I don't remember any movie that is well portrayed women. I think the movies are uh, until at this point the movies are still so problematic that we are having to fight about how women in general are represented. It's very hard to remember any movie that has actually portrayed women in politics as the main character, and that's very disheartening. We've watched like around 50-60 movies during our bachelor's in media studies, but it's so saddening with this question that I can't remember any movie that portrayed actually women in politics. Yeah.
Would you like to share some examples of how women are portrayed right now in movies
Okay.
centric
Yeah,
to
sure,
Nepal?
sure. I think, yeah, by far, women are presented in very stereotypical roles. I've watched this very popular Indian serial that goes around Nepali housewives as well, and that serial is supposed to be very motivating towards women. But very sadly, if you go into it, it's stereotyping the actual, the patriarchal female roles. Similar with the movies, women are just objectification to the male politicians or male in power, and women are supposed to be shy and they're supposed to act a certain way. They're supposed to be very sacrificing towards their family. You don't come first. That kind of notion is very common in movies, and it's actually very disheartening. Even when the movie is supposed to be that movie that the kind of empower women in the role, at the end it's just stereotyping whatever is existing.
Yeah,
That's my
at the end,
experience.
we end up being in the same box
Yeah.
from which we want to come out, of course. Sudarshini ji, any movies from Sri Lanka you would like to quote for us?
I am not a person who watches movies regularly, but I know the little I see on television. I would agree with Anusha ji. Women are stereotyped. It's again the patriarchal values that are shown even on these teledramas. But there was one film on Madam Sirima Bandaranaike, who was the world's first prime minister from Sri Lanka. That sort of gave a very positive image about strong leadership, about the women. So in addition to that, I mean, media per se is not gender sensitive, the way they report issues, affecting men and women are different. When it comes to women and children, they try to sensationalize things. So media is not sensitive. As per the question, I would say the teledramas or whatever, still portrays the patriarchal society we live in. Even social media for that.
You're right. Sudarshan ji, I have one more question for you. So we are like to let all our panelists know we are streaming live on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Zoom session as well. So we are receiving questions from everywhere. Sudarshini ji, one question that our audience has for you is, what advice would you offer to young women aspiring to pursue a career in politics based on your own journey?
Of course, I would encourage young women, because we need strong leaders, we need good leaders, we need disciplined leaders, we need educated leaders, and the society comprises, now in Sri Lanka we have 52% women, so this decision making has to be balanced. So we would encourage young women to enter the stream of politics, start from the grassroots level. We at the national level, we are trying very hard to create an even playing feel for girls and boys to enter politics, especially the girls, because the women have been deprived for a long period. We are trying hard to ensure that there are, the opportunities are created for women and girls to enter politics, because we need good leaders. We need, as I mentioned earlier, so we will support in Sri Lanka. We will support, whoever, especially the girls and women who are aspiring to enter the different levels of governance in Sri Lanka. So we would encourage and invite our young women and girls to be, and I wish them, I hope and pray that we will have a executive president very soon, because of the voters, 56% are female. So if the females get together, we can vote in a female president. But the allegation from our male colleagues are that females don't vote for females, but we have to change that mentality as well. And the women have to band together, network together, support one another, so that we can get more women into the decision-making bodies, not only in politics, all other levels, maybe in the government officers, the boards, private sector. We need a balanced decision-making where, half of them should be women, including both young and experienced women and men.
Right, and that's the important point that we have, circled back to back in this conversation, that to have women in top leadership position, we need them at the base positions, representing, fighting, and standing up for women. So thank you, Sudarshini ji. Sanya ji, we have one question for you. It's regarding the Aurat March. Before I proceed to my question, can you tell our audience what Aurat March was?
Yes, well, there has been a lot of debate about it. I mean, it was not taken positively in Pakistan. I mean, unfortunately, women were not allowed to represent whatever they have to say on the streets, because I think what went wrong was that if you are already empowered and if you're a human being and you already have your rights, I mean, women rights are human rights. Why are you asking for it? I mean, you should be, if you go through the, according to the Islamic law, men are not superior because they're men. Men have more responsibility. I mean, we are unable to give the message properly. I mean, our scholars are unfortunately have not been successful to delegate in their khutbahs and in their speeches that men has more responsibility towards a family institution system. Instead of saying that men are supposed to accompany a woman, we say women should not go out of the house. I mean, these are two different things. I mean, all are the wives of the Holy Prophet. They were businessmen. They fought in the wars. They were in the bureaucracy. They were in the part of the government. So, taking those examples, you can't say that women should not be part of the politics. It's not Islam. I mean, the religion is used to in a different way to let down the women, that if a woman goes out, obviously the man is not able to provide properly. If the men are, I mean, when I go to seminars and the Aurat March and everything has been asked to me, so I say, okay, it's not the women's choice, it's the men's choice. If you say there are 50% women and 50% men, if men can do it all, if you can handle the economy and the government, please go ahead, do it yourself. But obviously, that's not a logical decision. You have to bring in women. You have to bring women in the workforce. You have to bring women in the economy. You have to make them part of the decision making. Or how you will be able to control, or I mean, even if you want to control, I mean, how will you lead them if you don't know their problems, if you don't know what they want? So, Aurat March, just the problem was the slogans. I mean, the slogans were, I mean, you can't earn respect if you don't give respect. I mean, the purpose should have been that to synthesize men about the problems of the women, not to insult them by calling different slogans. I mean, this is my personal point of view. I think the thing, and the Aurat March is being done, I think it's been few years, 4 to 5 years. And every time on Women's Day, instead of celebrating that day, we condemn that day in the society. It is very unfortunately. I mean, whenever I've been asked, I'm always like, the slogans should be, you are my father, take me to school. You are my brother, protect me on the street. I mean, the slogans should have been in that sense, not I mean, the slogans weren't, I mean, fair with the men, because in our society, I think we should also appreciate men also, because in the European countries, when the girl is 18, she has to just leave the home. It's none of the parents' business where she's living, how she's earning, what she's doing. But in Pakistan, India, Sri Lanka, Nepal, I mean, the men take women as their responsibility. They provide. They are the providers. They do provide. A father educates and provides, and then even if she goes for a job interview, the father accompanies the daughter, the brother accompanies the sister. I mean, they take care of their women. I mean, we must appreciate that. Women in South Asian countries are not helpless, and we do have a strong family system. Yes, if we want to do it things our way, I think the family must understand, and I think there is a lot of improvement. Like, I have daughters, and I want them to study abroad, so I will allow them, and I will trust them with my whole heart that yes, I've come all the way here. My daughters should go far beyond what I have achieved. So yes, there was a lot of problem with the audit march, but I think women should also understand that by insulting men, I mean, we need male champions. We need men to be on our side, not fighting against the men. So this is something which went wrong.
Yeah, so our question was basically, why there weren't female politicians who went or who joined the Aurat March, or why, all parties took a misogynist stand, which I think you have answered. So just to summarize for our audience, I think, standing for women's rights, or the full fight for women's rights, is not about asking for more rights. It's asking for equal rights as men. So, it's not about insulting men or putting men down. It's about creating an equal society for both men and women.
Actually, I mean, there was nothing wrong with the march. I think the only thing was that the organizers should have taken care of it, that the slogans or the posters made should not be in such a manner that the men are offended by it, or the media takes it in a different way. Because after all, we are civilized society, and women calling or shouting bad language or saying bad stuff about men, it doesn't make any, I mean, it shouldn't be done that way. But yes, when we talk about equality, it is very unfortunately, I mean, the women who should have been part of the march are always not there. I mean, yes, I should say that women in politics are usually reluctant to join the Aurat March. I mean, from any part, I've seen the actors and the celebrities joining the march, but the politicians don't do that, because the public sentiment, it goes, it is not easy to own those slogans for a um, female politician.
Right. Thank you, Sania ji. Anusha, we are short on time, but I have one question for you quickly. We just have 1 minute before we have to wrap up. So, you also touched upon this point that there are 40% elected, women officials in Nepal, but the deputies are women while the top leadership is men. So what do you think is contributing majorly to this? Why is this happening?
Okay, so I think there are two major things that contribute to it. One the existing political structure that's very much dominated by men. Like I think Sudarshani ji already mentioned, the one who were giving out the nominations, were selecting people for elections, one them men. So majorly in the major position they choose men. Second thing, when it comes to finances, it's very very tough, because until today also only 23.8% of population, female population, has the access to land and property and money and those kind of things. So finances always come in play when it comes to elections. So even when we were doing the election campaigns, local election campaigns, it would always be the mayor candidate or the men that has all the funding, and we'll have to follow him, because you'll be our campaign lead, right? But then the women who are selected as deputy, they don't have much to spend. So that actually causes the main problem. I think finances come to a big play. The other thing being very stereotypical gender roles and the political structure that's existing. I think that contributes to it, if I have to sum up in very short. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think the two major points that we have highlighted from this conversation are the funding and the representation. I guess around representation, a lot of policies are in progress in all of our countries, but around funding, I don't see that. So that's my concluding remark for the audience. Read up on these issues and see why women are facing this. Thank you, everyone. This has been a great discussion. Thank you for taking out time for us. I would like to hand over to Dr. Carsten Klein, who's the regional head of FNF South Asia. Over to you, Dr. Carsten Klein.
Yeah, thank you very much. First of all, thanks to Renate Alt from the German Bundestag and our CEO, Annette Witte. Especially thanks to you being our moderator, Divya Jain. Dear Honorable Sudarshani, great having you again. Just last year, we had the opportunity to travel to Germany. Sania Kamran from Pakistan, thanks for joining us. And dear Mrs. Nepal from Nepal, that's also great. I would say also from my personal experience, it is extremely relevant and extremely needed that we bring in more female perspectives into politics. I worked myself for many years in the political sector, and it was made clear in this discussion again that decision-making, especially decision-making made by women, does not only represent 50%, it represents also other groups in the societies which are sometimes not top of the priority. For example, children, for example, elderly people, and perhaps other marginalized groups. With other words, women bring in these particular perspectives, perhaps much better than men could do. Point number two, I think very many women bring in just a different style in communication, in politics. And I would even say that if we had much more women in leading positions in the political sector, we would have a much more peaceful world and also a more economically successful world. We see here, for example, in South Asia, a lot of extremely successful, positive, hardworking women who are really feeding, who are giving life perspectives to their kids and also to their families. And I would also highlight what you said. It is extremely important to have, especially on the local levels, a lot of female, because these problems, these challenges, and also the joyful moments, especially in the local level, they should be attended more by women, and this decision-making really need more positive role models. And in my observation, especially successful women are excellent role models also for the younger generations to be part in the political sector and to raise their voices. For us, as a liberal parliamentarian foundation, the Friedrich Naumann Stiftung, female topics has a high priority, and therefore be assured that we are going to bring in more pan-South Asian perspectives also from other women into other discussions. It is extremely important to create platforms, and that was here a very significant platform. But of course, we clearly know that we have to try to intensify, to create positive platforms where especially women from South Asia could meet each other, and in the perspective also invite, let's say, parliamentarians, political personalities from Germany and from other European perspectives to just compare the situation and work on mutual solutions. Thank you very much for the diverse perspective you're always bringing in. And beyond our commitment in webinars, also in our IAF seminars in Gummersbach, which we also focus a lot on women perspectives. We as Friedrich Naumann Foundation South Asia should also do our tiny little bit. And therefore, I announce here very proudly that especially my female colleagues in the office said that it would be very good to have on October 11th, the United Nations International Girls' Day, a bit of get together here in our office for especially politically interested younger ladies from different perspectives, from different countries in South Asia. So we are going to celebrate this United Nations Girls' Day, and I hope that that spirit finds quite many other institutions who are doing the same. Last but not least, I think it is our obligation to bring especially the European perspective also into the game, and to discuss, perhaps in one of the next forums, issues of labor market for women, because I think that is another extremely important topic amongst so many others, which was shown by the discussion today. Again, thank you very much to all the panelists. Thanks to the colleagues from Germany. Thanks to our participants from Baden-Württemberg, especially our dear colleagues from the Landesbüro Baden-Württemberg did a lot to advertise for this webinar. We will have a lot of participation from our colleagues, both from Friedrich Naumann Foundation and from Germany and Europe. Thanks to Melanie Kögler from the Baden-Württemberg office, to Yannick Meffert, to the colleagues from the Universum enterprise who is doing the technical work. Thank you very much. Last but not least, to our team colleagues. Thanks, Nupur, for your great commitment. Manjari, it was always great. And thank you also, Dr. Gimre, for also in other fields of interest. We are happy to carrying this torch of liberalism and also of female empowerment in our organization. Thanks to especially the colleagues in Pakistan and in Colombo. Our offices there contributed a lot. They do a lot in the fields of women participation. And last but not least, please check on social media. We are available there. Check on new information and new upcoming activities from Friedrich Naumann Foundation. And please give us a feedback from your perspective. You will see the QR code, which gives you here a very good and happy perspective and opportunity to participate. Let us stay tuned. Thanks a lot, and do have a great day to Europe and of course also to South Asia. Thank you very much again, especially to our panelists and our moderator. Bye.